Typically active teenage boys. None of them would expect to have major health problems. But a couple of months ago, Edgar started having blurred vision. That was the first sign that something was very seriously wrong.
I got some sort of tumour in my brain. Yeah, that's all I know.
The MRI scan that was done earlier this week shows two distinct tumours, one here in the region of the pineal gland and the second tumour in the region of the pituitary gland. It's actually just a bit above the pituitary gland, and it probably accounts for why this boy is already experiencing problems with his fluid balance and his urine output. And because this area is so close to his visual apparatus, it probably accounts for the early symptoms of visual loss. And there's no disease anywhere else, so we have
other than that there's
tumour
no
at two sites, and the rest of the brain structure is
fine. Normal, yeah.
Okay, great. I'm probably going to need an MRI spine. I'll talk to the family about that, but I think they're going to be back in your department in the very near future. Hello, you're Mrs. Santos? I'm Dr. Stuart Kelly. You're Edgar? Hi. I'm Mr. Santos. Good, come through, thanks. The MRI shows not one but possibly two tumours, and the features are consistent with a type of brain tumour that we call a germ cell tumour. One of the dilemmas that we face is knowing what type of tumour it is, because when we say germ cell tumour, that's like a group of tumours, but different types of tumours require different types of treatment. And the type of treatment that we recommend depends on exactly what type of tumour it is and also if there's been spread. What I need to know is, has there been any further spread of the tumour up and down the spine? Because the situation that I would want to avoid is where we make a guess and give the wrong treatment. In the 1990s, that's not an acceptable way to approach a young patient with a brain tumour. But even if they've spread, then there's still a very good chance that with chemotherapy, a cure can be achieved. And for those reasons, what we do in the next week or two is critical.
I don't know, doctor, how did he get that? Is it an unknown thing, or is he having the tumour? The cause, there's...
The germ cell tumours are incredibly rare. Less than 1 in 50 brain tumours that we see in children are due to germ cell tumours. As far as we know, there are no factors in parents or in a child's past that has caused this to come about. In some ways, this is the worst part, trying to find out what's going on. And until we have a plan, there's often a lot of anxiety about what could be found. How are you feeling about all this, Edgar?
Just a bit scared.
A bit scared. Great. Okay, open your mouth real wide for me. Open wide, tongue out. Say ah.
Ah.
Good on you. Poke your tongue in and poke it back out. All the way. Really gross. Good, okay. Just close your eyes tight for me. Good. Okay, you can open your eyes. Now push my hand that way with your face. Push. Good. Push that way. Great. So today there's going to be some blood tests. 9 o'clock we're going to do the lumbar puncture. Nothing to eat or drink after midnight. Okay? Fasting overnight. We'll do the lumbar puncture and put in an intravenous cannula while he's asleep. 3 o'clock Dr. Ambler. 4 o'clock MRI of the spine. I'm going to see you for review of results and plans next Friday in the oncology clinic.
Okay.
Good morning, Edgar.
This is young Edgar.
Hello, Edgar. How are you?
The spinal tap's a really important part of this whole process. If we find that any of the hormones which these tumours make can be found in the spinal fluid, that acts as a signature, then that gives us the diagnosis. OK, he's right to go ahead?
Yes.
Thank you. The second test that we're going to be doing is looking for evidence of cancer cells. If we find cancer cells in the fluid, it means that this malignancy has spread further than we thought at first, and we would have to adjust our treatment accordingly. And we should know in 48 hours whether there are cells in this fluid or hormones which will give us the diagnosis.
Okay, Edgar, you ready? MRI stands for magnetic resonance imaging. It's a very large magnet, approximately 25 times the strength of the Earth's magnetic field, and it's on continually. This test is for Edgar's spine. He's already had his brain scan. What we're hoping to show is the entire, or what we intend to show is the entire length of the spine and the spinal cord to see if his tumour has metastasised down the cord. Of course, we all hope that he hasn't.
A group of specialists is meeting to discuss Edgar's case. They're almost certain the brain tumours are a form of cancer called germinoma, which normally responds well to chemotherapy. But there's a major complication triggered by the tumours.
The other thing that we've become aware of is that this boy's got diabetes insipidus, and that is a major adverse factor if we were to consider giving chemotherapy. And that also changes the approach from my point of view as well, because our experience with diabetes insipidus in these patients has been really unacceptable side effects from the chemotherapy. So, on knowing that we're dealing with a boy with diabetes insipidus, I'm now very hesitant to use chemotherapy if we can achieve similar results with radiation therapy. So in fact, that's why I've asked Verity to join us, because I suspect that under those circumstances, this boy's best interests may in fact be served by radiation therapy rather than chemotherapy.
And I guess from my point of view, Verity, I mean, you would feel uncomfortable in going ahead with radiotherapy without tissue diagnosis?
I'd feel unhappy about offering this boy a radical course of radiotherapy with its morbidity without definite histological proof that this is a germinoma.
The only way to get that proof is to take a biopsy. But Dr. Chaseling wants to avoid opening Edgar's skull to get the tumour sample. A less risky technique may be to go in through the nasal passages.
That area there. Does it extend right down into the pituitary fossa?
Yeah, I think it goes like that. Yeah.
That's a real possibility, you know. I hadn't thought that was like that one we did up at Westmead, that girl from New Zealand. And if the tissue's negative, then we'll have to reconsider another approach.
Deep inside me, I'm scared because I know patients with such of problems and then turn out to be, you know, cancer, and death is, cannot count out death. So I'm scared, of course. And he's my youngest boy, my youngest son.
An anxious wait as doctors take a biopsy of Edgar's brain tumours.
So we'll have the answer probably in about 2 days' time. I think we'll have the pathology back.
14-year-old Edgar has 2 tumours in his brain. Last week, doctors did a series of tests to find out what type of tumours they are and to see if they've spread.
Come out. You've had a busy and I'm sure you've had a worrying week.
That's right.
Can you tell me, have you been experiencing any headaches during the night or early in the morning?
In the morning.
In the morning, before you've been getting out of bed, or really? And have they been bad headaches?
Yeah.
Right. I wanted to talk with you about all of the results that we know about since I first met you. We took some spinal fluid under the anaesthetic, and I can tell you that there is no evidence of tumour cells in that spinal fluid. So the fact that those tests are negative is good. We also know that the MRI of the spine shows no sign of disease outside of the areas that we've already seen. So where that leaves us is we aren't entirely sure about the diagnosis. We're 95% sure this is a germinoma.
To make things even more complicated, one of the tumours has triggered diabetes.
We have treated many children with germinomas and germ cell tumours in this hospital. We know that the children with diabetes insipidus, the urinary problem, can experience very severe side effects from chemotherapy because of the way the body handles the drugs. On that basis, and having spoken to the radiation therapists, we believe that radiation therapy may be a better treatment for Edgar. 10 or 15 years ago, it would have been acceptable to just give the radiation and see how he does. Nowadays, that's not acceptable, and we would recommend that a biopsy of the tumour to confirm the diagnosis so that we can then embark on treatment knowing precisely what it is that we're dealing with. We believe a biopsy should be done.
Edgar's parents are waiting anxiously for news. He's just had a 3-hour operation at Westmead's Adult Hospital to take a biopsy from his brain.
Edgar, you all right? That's a boy.
He's starting to stir up.
Nothing coming out much.
No, nothing at all. No, he's fine. Neurologically, he's stable, so... Okay.
But anyway, so we'll have the answer probably in about 2 days' time. I think we'll have the pathology back. But as I said, on the frozen section in theatres, that the pathologists are fairly happy that it looks like it's going to end up being a germinoma.
So if that tumour will be treated, doctor, will vision comes back?
I don't know. I mean, I think there must be some concern about that, whether the vision will come back. But I mean, that's an issue we can worry about later on, once he's had treatment.
We call him Boyet because he's a small boy. Yeah.
How have you been feeling, Edgar?
Oh, all right. My eyes are still blurry, but...
Still a bit blurry?
Yeah.
We're just going to do a follow-up scan. You had your last scan 6 weeks ago, didn't you?
Edgar's case continues to baffle the medical team. The results of his biopsy are unclear, so he's having more tests to see what the tumours are doing. The brain scan results take everyone by surprise. The tumours are actually shrinking.
The only explanation I can really think of is that because he's being placed on hydrocortisone to replace his pituitary steroids, that somehow that has had an effect on one component of the germinoma tumour, and it's decreased in size. So I still remain very concerned that we're dealing with a germinoma, but as you know now, the MRI scan shows really very little. We're really back to a situation where we have to do some further investigations. Yeah.
So you mean to say, Doctor, germinoma is a malignant?
Yes, and that's been that's my concern, that we are in fact dealing with a possible germinoma, which is a malignant tumour, but we certainly haven't got positive pathology, and certainly nothing that we can use to justify giving chemotherapy or radiotherapy.
Will his vision get worse, or will just...
I think it'll stay the same.
Stay the same.
Yeah. And obviously there's the potential to get worse if we suddenly realise that this starts to grow again.